How's it going, guys? It's Eclipse here, and today's video we're looking at the next steps in World of Tanks console's release of information for World of Tanks Modern Armour. We're going to be looking at the 4 new maps coming into the game. I just wanted to guide you to yesterday's video. We went over the videos and the vehicles that you can actually see from this era. Obviously they've released them on the website, so either you can check out yesterday's video to have a look at them a bit more in depth, or you can just go to the Wargaming console website and it will be on the news articles to have a look for yourself. But other than that, we will get straight into the 4 new maps and have a look at what the feature of them is, and then give you all of the information you'll need for when the update arrives on the 27th of April, just to clear up when it will actually be arriving in-game. I know a lot of you have been really demanding some new maps, and obviously that's come in the form of 4 brand new maps. They'll be available to play in both Cold War mode and the upper tiers of the legendary game mode. The old style classic game mode is what they're coining it, I guess. So you'll be able to play them on both modes. I would expect tiers 8 to 10 will be playing on these big maps. They're 1.4 kilometers by 1.4 kilometers, meaning that you've actually got quite a lot more room now on these maps than you did previously, just because it's gone up by that 400 meters on each length of the side of the map. So yeah, it's going to be definitely a lot bigger. The aim of this was to basically change up the strategies that you'll be having on these various different maps and having a look at different routes that you can take. A lot of it's moved away from the whole corridor style maps that they had previously in the game, as with usually you have 3 corridors: left flank, right flank and central flank. Now it's moved into the kind of like an open maps than what it was before, and hopefully that will work out well. I'm not entirely sure how the balance of this is going to work, and they're saying that there's going to be a lot bigger sight lines throughout the maps, so you'll be able to see further, and but there's more long range engagements on these new maps. Our first map that we're going to be looking at today is Desful. This is a desert map. You can see a picture of the bridge here. I think it's an actual bridge in real life. It's actually one that you can cross. It's a historic bridge. I think it's really actually quite old, and I think that that's going to be like the focus point of this map is like it's based around this whole bridge and moving towards and throughout this area in the center, along with like there's a hill area to the left. This was part of the teaser that they actually dropped originally. You can see on screen right now, this is what the bridge looks like. You've got a couple in the background, there's a town area to the left, and lots of cover where you can advance. They're kind of trying to push this idea that instead of having these corridor maps, that you're actually going to have engagements where you have to push into areas and really use your armour really well, comparatively to just what you used to have, where certain tanks would go to certain flanks, and now it's going to be a bit more brawly, I think, and a lot of long range engagements. I don't know if that's going to cause camping to happen in these maps, not entirely sure, but obviously we'll find that out very soon when we come on to actually playing. You can see that there's vantage points in the map, which means that you can snipe all borders of the map from there, but the only problem is that it leaves you susceptible to enemies slowly closing in on your position with few escape options. So there's going to be positions where players are going to move up to get sight lines onto people that are behind these cover blocks and stuff like that near the bridge, and that's going to leave them unfortunately susceptible to other people trying to flank them. So I think that winning those areas is going to be key, and you'll find that out in the game when you actually manage to get on there. I think this left hand side where it's hilly is going to be an area where a lot of people are going to be fighting. You see this kind of chapel or church or monastery type thing right here, and I believe that you're going to be trying to use much cover in this game mode, put some line of sight blocks in front of you so you can't get just taken out from various different areas on the map. And I think that this is going to be a good change for World of Tanks console, and I'm interested to see how these play out, but hopefully if they don't play out well, then they'll get up to some patches and improve the cover around the map, and maybe put in a couple more objects in areas where it just feels like a lot of the map isn't going to get used. That's my main worry for these maps, if some areas are just completely going to be cut out of the map. Even though it is bigger, this area, like for the most part, might be just unusable because you just get ruined from these vantage points that they've put in. So I'm hoping that the gameplay and the testing that they've done is relevant and going to be useful for when you actually play it in game when it drops on the 27th. Now, the next map in these 4 maps is Kalbang. This is a jungle map, so there's a lot of foliage. They've put a lot of stuff into increasing the concealment, using your tank in positions that are going to grant you some bonuses to your camo, similar to that in the current game mode. Obviously you can use camo in bushes and it works really well, and you can outspot opponents and deal damage without even getting spotted or detected. I think that that's going to be what they've kind of focused this map around, and you can see that this is kind of a reference image for them. The actual images for the map are on screen, so you can see some actual screenshots from in-game. This is what it's going to look like. Lots of room for ambushing and putting in some work where you're going to use these various bushes and line of sights to be able to outplay your opponents. I think that this is going to be interesting. Looks like there's a lot of town area as well where you can fight in your heavy tanks when you actually change the eras that you're going to be playing. Obviously it's going to be important to take control of those city areas as well as take positions of high ground in the open areas to obviously have an advantage over those that aren't in those spots and who maybe stray off into the open to pick those off and win the game. Now, I think that this map is actually quite an interesting one. It might be my favourite so far of what I've looked at. I think the desert one may be a little too open, and there doesn't seem to be that many spots where you can hide, unless this town area in the actual map is going to be completely usable. Then I think it could be good, but if it's not, then I don't think I'm going to enjoy it as much. I think that this map is going to have that opportunity to outspot your opponents and use camo to be able to have some really good games, and I hope that that is the way it actually plays out in game. You can see that there's this big river. I'm guessing that you probably won't be able to cross the entire thing, or you might be able to cross in certain spots on it. I think it leads obviously down from this waterfall. Whether you can get up above or in any vantage points, then I don't know. But I think that this map personally is going to be one of the ones that I favour out of these 4 maps that we actually have. I think this one is actually one of the best looking as well. There's certainly some really nice aspects. It kind of reminds me of the one of the maps that was in the game already, Pearl River, kind of similar to that style map layout anyway. And I'm hoping that this one is actually quite good. Obviously it's a lot bigger than Pearl River was, and I think it will play out a lot nicer, hopefully, and give you some spots to use your mobility and get around the map and outflank opponents, use those camo, and then have some really good lines of sight. Our third map that we're going to be looking at today is Fredvong. This is the winter map that we're going to have. It's based in Norway. It was originally called Fredvong Bridge, so I'm guessing that there is a prominent bridge within this. It was then readjusted to just Fredvong. You can actually still see the bridge in the distance on the map. This kind of looks like a typical Norwegian village. Lots of wood houses. You've got plenty of cover, I guess, that you can use to put some stuff in between you and the opponents. It's got a lighthouse and this hill area. I don't know whether that'll be a typical place where you want to fight over. Not entirely sure, but it looks quite hilly in places. Looks like there's going to be lots of spots where you can use the high ground and obviously have some better games. You can see right here, these are obviously the images of in-game screenshots. So there looks quite interesting. There's this river that runs in the middle by the looks of it. Probably be too deep for you to be able to cross, so you'll probably have to cross in certain spots if you want to move over it. It looks like a bridge right here. And yeah, it looks like quite a scenic map. I think that this one could be interesting. I think that there is quite limited cover in between different areas of the map, so I guess once you've committed to one flank, it's going to be hard in order to move between the areas on the map, and you actually have to kind of just use cover to cover, like in order to put a block in between you and the opponents. I think it's going to be really important to be quite aggressive at the start of the map to secure one of these areas, and then you can use that as your kind of center point to push into other areas of the map, and then you might have a better advantage of winning the game. Obviously I'll do some guides as to when these maps drop and sort of areas that you want to be looking at when when you play these maps. But yeah, I think that this is an interesting one, and certainly if you want to check out some of the history or what the Wargaming team actually did, then you can just pause the game right now and you can read it on screen. If you want to do that, I'll give you a second. Then finally, the fourth map in today's news article is Mannerheim. This is one that I believe is on PC, if I'm right in thinking that. This is a jungly city map. It's kind of an urban map, I guess, is what you call it. It's got some jungle in the background, but it's focused around this city area. There's going to be lots of cover, lots of buildings that you can use and have some really good games. I think that you'll be able to use that to the best of your ability, use side scraping and stuff like that with the modern armour that you've got, and use some of those concealment to maybe move across a specific area of the map that might be a specific sight line and move around the map quite easily. I think that this is going to be an interesting one, certainly a lot more brawling than the other maps. In this one, there's going to be lots of sight lines of just these blocks of skyscrapers and high-rise buildings, and I think it's going to be really, really interesting for you to have a go at yourself when you actually get on them. There's a lot of the city landscape elements is what they've said, and you're going to be able to have these in the live game on the 27th, so that features every single one that we've gone on to. There's 4 of them, so yeah, I think that that's going to be interesting. There's not been much news with regards to the classic maps that they've said that they're going to be releasing. I think there's 3 of those. Westfield, we've got another one that I've forgotten the name of, and I think we're having the desert one back as well. So there's going to be 3 more classic mode maps, but they said that they're coming early summer, so whether that will actually be part of this, I'm not entirely sure, and I wouldn't like to confirm that for you guys. But these ones definitely are confirmed in the game on the 27th when the update drops. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you want to check out more Modern Tanks content, then I've done a few videos. I will link yesterday's video looking at the modern tanks themselves, what tanks you will actually be able to play in the game when the update drops, and then also you will actually see what the matchmaker's like as well in that video. So if you want to check that out, then go to yesterday's video. It will be linked on screen right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll have a video coming soon for you guys on any more news updates that we get as part of this Modern Tanks World of Tanks variant. Other than that, I hope you guys do enjoy the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.